This industry makes billions when you forget where your keys are. I'm not exaggerating. The global market for memory supplements alone hit over $12.8 billion in 2022. Vision supplements? Another $11.7 billion. That's more than the GDP of some countries made off your blurry vision, your fading recall, your frustration every time you walk into a room and can't remember why. And the worst part? Most of it doesn't actually help. At least, not in the way you think. These companies bank on one thing: the slow, steady decline of people over 60. They know your eyesight is slipping. They know your memory's not as sharp. And instead of helping you fix it at the root, they give you shiny packaging, unregulated blends, and just enough hope to keep you buying. But I want to tell you something that no one on a supplement label will ever admit. Your brain and your eyes aren't broken. They're underfed. That constant fog you feel, that burning in your eyes at night, that scary moment when you blank on your grandchild's name for half a second. It's not just age. It's not just stress. It's your body running on empty, trying to rebuild neurons and photoreceptors without the raw materials it needs. I've seen this pattern for decades. Patients who show up convinced they're just getting old, when in fact, they're missing one or two core nutrients that literally fuel brain repair and retinal function. And the craziest part? You don't need a pill to fix it. In fact, some of the most powerful nutrients for repairing brain tissue and protecting vision are hidden in the most overlooked foods. Foods you might already have sitting in your kitchen, or that cost less than your morning coffee. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. I'm Dr. James Porter, and this is where we talk about real solutions backed by science, not sales scripts. If that sounds like something you want more of, consider subscribing. It helps this message reach more people like you. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to look at 3 incredible foods, humble, everyday nuts, that carry the power to slow vision loss, sharpen memory, and support your brain in ways most doctors don't even talk about. These aren't trendy superfoods. They're not miracle cures, but they are clinically backed, neurologically relevant, and deeply underestimated, especially for those of us over 60. Let's start with the one that acts like a nighttime repairman for your brain, a wrinkled little powerhouse you've probably ignored in the grocery aisle for years: the walnut. Let me be clear from the start. If you're over 60 and your memory feels slower, your night vision's fading, or you just can't focus like you used to, your brain and your eyes might be gasping for one thing: omega-3. Now, I know most people think of fish when they hear omega-3. And yes, fatty fish like salmon and sardines are excellent. But for many older adults, fish isn't always realistic. Maybe you don't like the taste. Maybe you're on a budget. Maybe you've cut back on animal products. That's where walnuts come in. Walnuts are the single richest plant-based source of ALA alpha-linolenic acid, a type of omega-3 that your body can convert into EPA and DHA, the same compounds found in fish oil. But here's the critical part. You don't just need omega-3 seconds for heart health. You need them because your brain is literally made of fat. Roughly 60% of the human brain is fat, and omega-3 fatty acids are the primary building blocks for the membranes of brain cells. Without enough of these fats, your neurons, the cells responsible for thinking, remembering, reacting, and seeing, lose their flexibility. Their ability to transmit signals slows down. Communication between cells becomes sluggish. Inflammation rises. Cognitive clarity fades. The Journal of Alzheimer's Disease published a study in 2020 showing that higher intake of ALA from plant sources like walnuts was associated with improved cognitive performance in adults over 65. Participants who consumed ALA-rich diets showed better verbal memory and slower cognitive decline compared to those who did not. That's not a supplement trial. That's real food making real impact. Another study published in Nutrients in 2019 looked at brain scans of older adults and found that regular walnut consumers had significantly better functional connectivity in regions related to memory and attention. Translation: walnuts help your brain cells stay in sync even as the years pass. And what about your eyes? Most people forget this, but your retina, the light-sensitive tissue at the back of your eye, is an extension of your brain. It has the highest concentration of omega-3 fats in the entire body outside of the brain itself. That means, when you're low on omega-3 seconds, your vision suffers right alongside your memory. A clinical review in the journal Progress in Retinal and Eye Research in 2016 concluded that omega-3 seconds help reduce inflammation in retinal tissue, improve blood flow, and support the regeneration of photoreceptor cells, especially under oxidative stress, which is exactly what happens with aging. Think of it this way. At night, while you sleep, your brain and your eyes begin their repair cycle. But like any repair crew, they need raw materials, and omega-3 seconds are the scaffolding. Without them, your brain can't patch damaged synapses. Your retina can't rebuild clarity. That's why so many older adults wake up foggy, visually strained, or mentally fatigued, not because they didn't sleep enough, but because their brain didn't have what it needed to do the repairs. I once had a patient named Robert. He was 71, still sharp, still active, but he had started misplacing words mid-sentence. He described it like his brain was skipping. He also stopped driving at night because oncoming headlights made him freeze. He wasn't in cognitive crisis, he was just missing what his body couldn't make on its own anymore. We added walnuts just 7 halves to his breakfast every day with a little Greek yogurt. Within 6 weeks, his wife told me, he's finishing his thoughts again. He sounds like himself. Now, to be clear, walnuts won't erase severe memory loss, but what they can do is fuel the areas of your brain that are still trying to function and give your visual system a fighting chance to stay responsive. If you're wondering how to start, the answer is simple. 7 walnut halves a day. That's it. You don't need a blender. You don't need a recipe. Just grab a small handful with breakfast or sprinkle them on a salad. They pair beautifully with oats, apples, or plain yogurt. And if you take medication in the morning, even better. The fats in walnuts can help improve the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients and medications. I know some people worry about fat content or calories, but let me be brutally honest. If your brain is deteriorating, worrying about 5 grams of healthy fat is missing the point. This isn't about snacking. This is about supplying the essential fats your neurons are begging for. Walnuts are not a trend. They're not a gimmick. They are one of the few foods backed by over 3 decades of neurological and ophthalmological research. And yet, most people walk right past them in the grocery store because they don't know what's inside. You deserve better than that. You deserve to wake up with a brain that fires smoothly, with eyes that adjust confidently, with a body that still knows how to repair itself, if you give it the right fuel. So the next time you pour your coffee, make space for a handful of walnuts beside it. 1 small habit, 1 major repair signal, and a better chance of remembering what matters most. If walnuts are your brain's builder, almonds are its shield. Quiet, reliable, and absolutely essential. Because here's a harsh truth most people don't realize until it's too late. Your brain and your eyes are constantly under attack, not from injury, not from infection, but from oxidative stress. It's a slow burn, a daily erosion of your cells. And unless you give your body the tools to fight back, the damage piles up quietly for years. That's where vitamin E comes in. Almonds are one of the highest natural sources of vitamin E on the planet. And I'm not talking about the synthetic kind pumped into cheap multivitamins. I'm talking about D-alpha tocopherol, the form your body actually recognizes and knows how to use. Vitamin E is fat-soluble, which means it gets stored in the lipid layers of your cell membranes, especially in your nerves and retina. Once it's there, it acts like a shield, neutralizing free radicals before they can rip through your cells and destroy function from the inside out. Let's be more specific. In the eye, the retina is exposed to light all day long. That light creates reactive oxygen species, unstable molecules that chew through cell membranes and photoreceptor proteins. Vitamin E slows that process down. It helps preserve retinal thickness. It reduces inflammation. It even helps maintain contrast sensitivity, the ability to see fine details, especially in dim light. The journal Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science published a study in 2014 showing that vitamin E deficiency was strongly associated with increased oxidative damage in the retina and a faster progression of age-related macular degeneration. In older adults with suboptimal levels of vitamin E, structural breakdown of photoreceptor cells was more pronounced. The researchers concluded that long-term dietary intake of vitamin E played a significant role in retinal integrity over time. And that's just your eyes. In the nervous system, vitamin E protects myelin, the insulating sheath that wraps around your nerves. Myelin is like the plastic casing around a wire. When it's intact, signals travel fast and clean. When it's damaged, communication slows, becomes distorted, or fails altogether. A 2016 study in the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging found that older adults with higher vitamin E intake had better cognitive performance on tasks related to verbal fluency and executive function. The researchers hypothesized that antioxidant protection of neural membranes and improved myelin stability were key mechanisms. Simply put, vitamin E helped keep the brain's wiring intact. And almonds don't just bring vitamin E to the table. They also contain magnesium, riboflavin, and plant polyphenols, all of which support vascular health and oxygen delivery to both the brain and the eye. That's important, because even the most well-functioning neurons need consistent blood flow to operate. You might be wondering how much you actually need. The answer is simple. Just one small handful, about 23 almonds, gives you nearly 50% of the recommended daily intake of vitamin E. That's without pills, without prescriptions, and without synthetic isolates your body struggles to absorb. There's also something important I need to say about consistency. Vitamin E is not like caffeine. You won't feel a jolt. You won't notice a difference in 24 hours. But over time, days, weeks, months, it builds a buffer. It slows decay. It creates an internal environment where your eyes and your brain are protected against the constant stressors of aging. You won't necessarily see it working, but you may notice your eyes stay more comfortable when reading at night, that you don't rub your eyes as often, that your brain feels just a little bit sharper, especially in the early morning or late evening. That's what protection feels like. Quiet, steady, effective. One last note, if you want to get the full benefit, go for raw or dry roasted almonds without added salt or sugar. The coating matters. Sugar increases inflammation, salt disrupts electrolyte balance. And roasted almonds and cheap oil can degrade the very nutrients you're trying to absorb. If you have trouble chewing, try soaking almonds overnight. It softens the texture and may even increase bioavailability. You can also blend them into smoothies or mix with oats and fruit. Just don't skip them. Because the longer you wait to build that shield, the harder it becomes to repair what's already been lost. Almonds aren't a luxury food. They're a daily investment in your clarity, your comfort, and your ability to stay present in the moments that matter. Your brain and your eyes are worth that handful. Every single day. Most people think of pistachios as a casual snack, something to toss in a bowl when company comes over. But when you're over 60 and starting to feel your eyes blur faster and your attention waver more often, pistachios are no longer just a snack. They're a strategy. Because inside those green and gold shells are some of the most potent pigments and brain-supporting nutrients nature has to offer. And the real power lies in two names you've probably never heard of: lutein and zeaxanthin. These are carotenoids, natural compounds that settle directly into the macula, the central part of your retina, responsible for sharp detail, contrast, and facial recognition. The same area that weakens in conditions like macular degeneration or struggles to adjust between light and dark as we age. Lutein and zeaxanthin act like internal sunglasses. They filter high-energy blue light, reduce oxidative damage, and help maintain the density of the macular pigment, which is crucial for clear central vision. Now here's what makes pistachios different from every other nut. Almonds have vitamin E. Walnuts have omega-3 seconds. But pistachios are one of the only nuts that naturally contain both lutein and zeaxanthin in meaningful amounts. On top of that, they deliver vitamin B6, potassium, and plant-based polyphenols that support blood flow to the brain and eyes. A 2015 study published in the journal Clinical Nutrition found that individuals who consumed lutein and zeaxanthin regularly had better contrast sensitivity and faster visual processing speeds. Another study in Nutrients in 2018 noted that increasing intake of these pigments through natural foods, not supplements, led to higher macular pigment optical density, a key marker of central vision health. And the benefits don't stop at your eyes. Lutein and zeaxanthin also accumulate in brain tissue, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for focus, decision-making, and mental clarity. A 2017 paper in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that older adults with higher levels of lutein in brain tissue performed better on cognitive tasks, especially those involving sustained attention and visual memory. Put simply, pistachios don't just help you see better, they help you think clearer. I remember one of my patients, Maria, 68, retired nurse. She wasn't ill, but reading had become difficult in the afternoon. Her focus slipped. Her mind felt scattered by dinner. We replaced her afternoon snack with a handful of pistachios. Within 6 weeks, she was reading comfortably again, and her mental clarity noticeably improved. Now, I'm not saying pistachios are a miracle cure, but when your brain is starved for lutein and your eyes are under constant stress, the right pigment in the right place at the right time makes a difference. If you want to add pistachios to your day, here's how I recommend doing it. Aim for one small handful, about 1 ounce or 30 grams. Choose unsalted or lightly roasted pistachios. Avoid added oils or sugar coatings, which cancel out the benefits. They pair perfectly with sliced fruit, plain yogurt, or even oatmeal. You can also blend them into a smoothie or chop and sprinkle on top of a salad. If you're watching calories or trying to manage your weight, don't worry. A handful of pistachios is nutrient-dense, not empty calories. The fats they contain are mostly monounsaturated, the kind that supports circulation and reduces inflammation, not the kind that clogs your arteries. One more thing. Most people assume their brain fog or their trouble reading small print is a permanent feature of aging. But it's not. It's a sign, a signal. Your body is asking for help, and often, all it takes is a little green reinforcement to answer the call. Your eyes are still capable of seeing clearly. Your mind is still capable of sharp thought, but they need support. And pistachios are one of the few natural foods that provide that support in 2 directions, brain and vision at the same time. So the next time you reach for a snack, ask yourself, am I just filling time? Or am I feeding the parts of me that still want to fight? Pistachios give you that chance. 1 small handful, 1 quiet repair, 1 more moment of clarity when it counts. You don't need a degree in nutrition, you don't need a kitchen full of powders or pills, and you definitely don't need to count grams or obsess over macros. All you need is 7 days and 3 types of nuts. 1 for your memory, 1 for your nerves, 1 for your vision, each doing its part, quietly, consistently, and together, creating a system your brain and your eyes can finally rely on. Here's what that looks like. In the morning, after your first cup of coffee or tea, have your walnuts, about 7 halves. You can eat them plain, sprinkle them into oatmeal, or crush them into yogurt. This is your omega-3 foundation, the building blocks your brain needs to rebuild connections overnight. In the afternoon, after lunch, or as your energy dips, reach for your pistachios, around 30 grams, roughly a small handful. These are your focus boosters, your macular pigment protectors. A slow, steady fuel to keep your eyes from crashing when the light starts to fade. In the evening, before dinner, or alongside a light meal, have your almonds. 23 is the typical number used in studies, but don't overthink it, just enough to feel substantial. These are your antioxidants, your nerve shields, your invisible armor as your body begins its nightly repair cycle. That's it. No complicated charts, no rigid meal plans, no expensive products, just 3 simple choices, placed at the right moments of your day. And don't worry if you miss one. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. The brain and the eyes respond to rhythm, patterns, familiar signals that say, help is here. By day 3 or 4, many people notice subtle shifts. They feel more alert in the morning. They squint less at screens. They have an easier time finishing conversations or following stories. It's not magic. It's biology catching up to what you've been missing. Can you eat all 3 types at once? Of course. If that's what works best for you, go for it. But spreading them out helps reduce snack cravings, stabilize energy, and support the natural rhythms of brain and eye function throughout the day. And yes, you can rotate. If you're sensitive to one type or simply get bored, you can adjust. Walnuts can be swapped with flaxseed or chia, almonds with sunflower seeds, pistachios with kale or spinach if needed. But if you tolerate all 3, this combination is powerfully balanced. Give yourself 1 week, 7 days, 3 kinds of nuts, 1 commitment to feed what matters most, your vision, your clarity, your presence. No promises, just nutrients. No hype, just help. Start today, and by this time next week, you might just see and think a little clearer than you did yesterday. If you've made it this far, I want to tell you something directly. You are not broken. You are not fading. And no matter what they've told you, your mind is not slipping away just because the calendar says you're older. What you may be dealing with is something far more manageable, a gap, a silent nutritional gap that has slowly drained the strength from your thoughts and the sharpness from your sight, not because you were careless, but because no one told you what your brain and eyes actually need to stay alive, alert, and fully functioning. But now you know. You've met the walnut, the quiet builder of memory and neural repair. You've understood the almond, the invisible shield guarding your nerves and retinal cells. And you've seen the pistachio, the pigment-rich ally of focus, contrast, and central vision. These aren't fads. They're not pills made in a lab. They are real foods with real science and real impact. And most importantly, they're tools you can actually use. If you're starting today, don't worry about getting it perfect. Just start. Add 1 change, then another. Let your body feel what it's like to be supported again, to repair instead of decline, to function instead of fight. Because here's what I believe, with all my years in medicine. Most people don't need more prescriptions. They need more clarity, more truth, more simplicity. They need someone to remind them that healing isn't gone, it's just been ignored. And sometimes, all it takes is a handful of the right food at the right time to wake that healing back up. So thank you. Truly, thank you for staying with me to the end. I know your time is precious, and I hope today's message gave you something real to hold on to. If this video helped you, even in a small way, I invite you to give it a like, leave a comment below, I read them all, share this with someone you care about. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more simple, science-backed ways to take care of your brain and your vision naturally. You are not alone in this. Your story isn't over, and your clarity, both mental and visual, is not behind you. It's waiting just ahead, 1 small choice at a time.